Hello and welcome to Quays News. I'm Sam Armitage.
And I'm Megan Folan. Here's what's coming up on the show today.
Are community groups receiving the funding they need to continue supporting those who rely on them?
How impactful can a late autism diagnosis be for a young woman?
I have a lot of trauma from growing up undiagnosed and being treated differently and just being seen as weird.
A new Opium War exhibition has been opened in Bolton and we spoke to the curator of it.
It's an exhibition, I call it my mission. The mission is to retell history. Retell which part of history is about the Opium War. Mainly about the Opium War, about the opium trade, because I grew up in Hong Kong and people don't know why Hong Kong was a British colony.
New infrastructure and housing is in the works in Deansgate.
And a Salford-based cheerleading squad is heading to America for the World Championships. Our top story today. Local groups are vital pillars to the community, but without funding, it's difficult to keep them running.
Fitness coach Benjamin Hodgkinson trains people with multiple conditions and vulnerable groups, impacting their livelihood. Our reporter Beverly Segunda went to find out more.
Boxing, a sport known for discipline and strict routine, is giving these care home residents a newfound passion. Fitness coach Benjamin Hodgkinson has been training the group for months, building strength and improving mobility, just like member Patrick, who suffered from a stroke. Their carer has seen a huge impact.
It's good for the well-being and getting out and mixing, and they enjoy it.
The fitness sessions for those who have disabilities, physical impairments and dementia are run in the Beacon Centre, but Benjamin is currently looking for funding for a more permanent home. Community groups provide a place to escape for the older generation, but for younger people, gyms such as these have been open for them to get involved in. But with the lack of funding, it may be difficult to keep them open.
The feedback that you get and, changing people's lives, it's rewarding in itself. But I think in the day and age that we live in, there needs to be more funding.
Benjamin was forced to create this temporary gym in just 2 weeks, outsourcing materials and gaining donations from those in the community.
We need a building. We need a building. If I had a building, the work that I could do, the extra work that I could do would be unreal. They need to provide buildings for us to work from. We can't do this. We can't keep doing this from our homes and renting buildings because we can't afford it. At the end of the day, we have bills to pay ourselves, we have kids to feed ourselves, we have roofs to put over our heads. And we can't do that, we can't fund projects with no income and, change everybody's lives, because it's not going to happen. But we do need, something I do need is a building. I need a building, desperately need a building.
To create more projects for young people and those who are physically impaired, but until funding is found, his fight still continues to run his sessions. Beverly Segunda in Clayton.
Thanks, Beverly. What a lovely community-based piece there. Now, Sam, a bit of a history question for you. How much do you know about the Opium War?
Well, Megan, I was a bit of a history buff back in my day. I did get a 9 in GCSE history.
Wow.
However, my knowledge of Britain and China's relations in the 19th century is pretty limited.
Well, not to worry. Lucky for us, Anna Stelfox visited the Portico Library to chat with the curator of an Opium War exhibition.
It's an exhibition, I call it my mission. The mission is to retell history. Retell which part of history is about the Opium War. Mainly about the Opium War, about the opium trade, because I grew up in Hong Kong and people don't know why Hong Kong was a British colony.
Opium has an important relationship to the growing city of Manchester. In the 19th century, while some petitioned Parliament on the blockade by the Chinese government, which eventually led to the First Opium War, others worked against the opium trade. An exhibition that's just come to Manchester draws attention to just this. I headed to the Portico Library to speak with curator Iris Yao to find out more.
Each single, even just images, they have their own journey. It's so much to tell, not just the big thing about the opium trade, about the opium war, and what, we need to reflect.
Celebrations of heritage can be found all across Manchester, especially here in Chinatown. On International Women's Day, I saw this even further at an event which celebrated Iris Yao's exhibition and International Women.
It's history, isn't it? And Iris is very interested, obviously, in bringing it to the people of Manchester as well, I think.
I'm quite interested in history, and myself also interested drawing and writing.
Discovered bits of history that I didn't know. I remember studying at school vaguely in the Opium War, but didn't have a lot of that context, so it was very interesting.
Yeah. So that is one of the display or artifacts, win and lost to me, because it showed, two sides, not just England invade or attack China.
A lot of history, according to Iris, is brushed under the carpet. But it's exhibitions like this that bring back what was forgotten.
The exhibition or the mission means this is why I'm here, existing. This is why make me feel I'm really doing something.
Anna Stelfox, Quays News.
Thanks, Anna. I feel I know everything I need to know now.
Everything? In the whole wide world?
Well, maybe not everything.
Now, expansion plans for Deansgate Square are officially happening and they're looking for inclusivity in their new neighbourhoods.
Marion Tabagoma went to find out more.
These 4 Deansgate Towers are some of Manchester's most infamously known assets, the tallest one of which is 201 metres. Deansgate Towers accommodates living spaces, restaurants and businesses, and they will soon be adding more towers according to the founder of Greenacre. CEO Mr. Whitaker was asked in a conference on Friday what was his future plans for this project, and he said he'll be looking to bring thousands of apartments in Manchester and Salford. He mentioned how he'd like to integrate families and older people and develop 3 new neighbourhoods by developing 8,000 units over the next 8 to 10 years. He said we shouldn't underestimate the strength of Manchester and how unique of an environment we have. When asked why so many developments in Manchester, he said because it is the best. So do expect some new towers in Manchester.
Well, for more on this, Marion joins us in studio.
Thanks for joining us, Marion.
Thank you very
So,
much.
has there been any sort of backlash to this announcement?
Well, good question, Megan. Yes, earlier in 2022, there was a rejection made for the 17-storey Deansgate Tower located in St Anne's Square. The planning committee refused and said this would cause substantial harm, and they were asked to reconsider the application 1 year after, but they still stand by their words today. Another question that people often ask about is the pricing of these apartments. These are supposed to be student apartments, and I checked myself. The cheapest option is a 1-bedroom apartment, and this starts at $1,200 per month. This was without including bills. So it's not as affordable as it may be possible and be, but this does not stop them from making this project happen. So yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's quite expensive, that.
Yeah. Pretty much, yeah.
Well, nearly 80% of autistic females are still undiagnosed by the time they're 18. And as you can imagine, a late diagnosis can have a large impact on their mental health.
Yeah, definitely. Our reporter Sadie Alt had a similar experience and went to find out the impact a late diagnosis can have on the life of a young woman.
This is just a handful of the messages I received when I asked other autistic girls to share how a late diagnosis had affected them. Autistic boys are 4 times more likely to receive a diagnosis than girls, and while now more than ever girls are receiving their diagnosis and the support they need, it has a massive impact on their mental health. Pippa Wilson grew up caring for her autistic brother, unaware that she was also autistic. When she was 20, she received her diagnosis.
But I was in therapy since I was 11, and I was diagnosed with anxiety and depression when I was 12. And I think I'd kind of decided and figured out when I was like 18 that I think I was autistic. But like no one tells you how to go about getting a diagnosis. You just have no idea. Like I didn't know, like, do I go to my GP? Is it separate from that? But then I did, and within 6 months I was diagnosed. Most of it is before I was diagnosed, and just having all those years of not knowing what was going on. I have a lot of trauma from growing up undiagnosed and being treated differently, and just being seen as weird. When I was diagnosed, I realised I don't really know who I am and who I like. You've become quite isolated, and you know, you've basically like having a second childhood where you have to grow up and figure out what you like and who you actually are, rather than who you've been surviving as, basically, like from being a teenager.
Just like Pippa, I was misdiagnosed a lot of things when I was younger, like anxiety and depression, and I was in therapy from a young age to help with these things, but actually they was all just part of my autism. So I was only diagnosed with autism recently after years of fighting to be heard by doctors, peers, teachers, and even my family. And although it has been such a relief to have this diagnosis and have answers to my questions, one of the main things is you can't help but think about your younger self, and how, although I have support now, she didn't, and she didn't know what was, in a sense, wrong with her.
Nicola Bryan is a university mentor with over 25 years of experience working with special educational needs children, but now helps a lot of autistic people studying at university.
I heal the trauma of what went on in secondary schools, the bullying, the feeling othered, the confusion, the not knowing what you're doing wrong kind of thing, but also just being name called, just being shamed, rejected.
Girls are coming together to share their experiences with late diagnosis, and although sometimes it might feel very lonely, there is a community out there. Sadie Alt, Quays News.
What a beautiful and insightful package. Thank you, Sadie.
Yeah, well, Megan, I feel like I've known you for a while, but I'm dying to know one thing about you. How much of a cheerleading fanatic are you?
I would say I'm quite a big fan of it, Sam. But when most people think about the sport, I think they think about its popularity in America.
Yeah, you are right there. However, Salford-based club Electric will be jetting off to the Cheerleading World Championships in Florida at the end of April.
Yeah, that's right. Our reporter Lucy Davenport went down to find out just how much talent this team truly has.
For most cheerleaders, it's a dream to perform on the World Championship stage in Florida. And for these Salford teams, this dream has become a reality. Electric athletics teams, Twilight and Midnight, will be taken to the stage in just a few weeks' time. Having recently flown out to Atlanta, Georgia to train with Stingray All-Stars, they are most definitely prepared. Coach Becky told me how proud she is of her teams.
Very, very proud. We got the bid in July this year. They trained for like 10 days to get their bid this year, so yeah, very, very proud of both of our teams going to Worlds this year.
The bid they received is partial paid, which means they receive money that will help to fund the trip to the States. And with over 500 teams and 12,500 cheerleaders, it's a very exciting time in the cheerleading calendar. Electric Athletics established themselves in 2023, and with this being their second time going to Worlds as a team, the pressure to exceed the 2nd and 5th place they received last year is immense.
They want us to succeed, and I feel like finals is always the main goal, because if you make finals, that feeling in itself, I always say last season, beats the everything else, because that's what you want.
Electric Athletic will certainly be bringing the energy to Florida, but with it costing over £2,000 per team member for the trip, Coach Becky explained to me what the money pays for and ways in which they've been fundraising.
So it covers their flights, their accommodation. We fly from Atlanta to Orlando, and it pays for a villa as well there. We have to pay for van hire, fuel. They've done lots and lots of raffles. We did our showcase in December, so they did I think like a name the bear kind of thing, so you have to guess the name of the bear.
And like all teams across different sports, there are various traditions and superstitions Midnight and Twilight have before competitions. Here are just a few, including one very strange spaghetti bolognese related tradition.
In the morning before comp, I always have a pink monster, every time without fail. I have my lucky underwear.
Yeah, ducks are like our mascot, so we collect like ducks to just see around.
But our coach Becky, like the morning of comp or sometimes the night before, she always makes spaghetti bolognese for the whole team, but she makes like 4 different variations. So she makes like one with all the meat, all the veg, then she makes one with just the veg, then one just with the sauce.
The fact that I have to do it every single year and have to cater for all their dietary requirements is interesting. So my kitchen, well, the villa kitchen, looks like an interesting bomb that has hit it.
Lucy Davenport, Quays News.
Thanks, Lucy. All I can say after that is let's go team.
What a cheerful package.
Nice.
You got to watch some cheerleading yesterday, Sam, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Well, it was varsity yesterday in Chester, and Salford got the big win against Chester University.
Yeah, what was the score in the end?
It was 18-11 in the end, which I think is one of the biggest margins of victory since varsity began in 2016.
Yeah, I imagine so. Varsity is always such an exciting day, isn't it? I'm sure you did a lot of celebrating after the big win.
Yeah, maybe a bit too much, but it is only right. The Shield's back in Salford, and I, for one, can't wait until next year.
And it'll be back in Salford next year. Well, unfortunately, that is all we have time for on today's show.
Yeah, thank you for tuning in. I've been Sam Armitage.
And I've been Megan Folan. Goodbye.